Imagine being hit by a life-altering event, something like tsunami, and you want to escape but just for a while. You end up coming to Bhutan. You find yourself forever changed. So much so that you find yourself returning to the country over and over again and end up writing a book about Bhutan through your lens. I'm talking about none other than Eugene Bay, a very good friend of Bhutan. Yesterday at the Bhutan Echoes, 𝗂𝗂𝗴𝗵 Literature and Arts Festival, he launched his book, The Tale of Two Ravens, that has 3 series in it. So I'm really happy to have you today with us.
Thank you.
To begin with, Eugene, if you could tell us about your first visit to Bhutan and how it changed you forever.
First of all, I didn't know anything about Bhutan. So for me, it was completely a surprise. And when you hear that there's a country called Bhutan in the Himalayas, you think it's in the middle of all the mountains. And it is, but it's on the foothills a bit. So we're not right in the middle of the snow-capped mountains. They're further up. So I was a bit confused because I thought, where are the snow-capped mountains? But you have to drive a bit to find them. So that was the first surprise. The second one was, I was surprised that everybody spoke such good English. You could converse with everyone, so it's incredible. So the communication was fast. So I very quickly got to talk to people, and I loved their humor. You're quite a funny group of people. You like a joke. And you go to some cultures and people want to be serious for the first meeting. Not in Bhutan. You want to have pleasure, enjoy people, put people at rest and relax, and just tell nice stories. And I enjoyed that right from the very first time. But my very first experience was driving to Punica. Now, for you, it's just down the road. But for me, as a foreigner, in the old days, 20 years ago, the road was narrow, and it was a bit more bumpy. It was a bit unstable. So it took a longer time to get there. I think even maybe sometimes 45 minutes longer than now to get to Punica. So it was a long drive. So halfway you stop and you have a picnic. Now when you come down over the 𝗥𝗲𝗽𝗄𝗃 Pass and you drive down, which is amazing for a foreigner to see, you then see the Himalayas in the distance. You come to, after all, you come to a turn before you come to the Divine Madman's Valley. I don't know the name of that valley, so you must help me. And we stopped and had a picnic overlooking the valley. Stunning. That is so beautiful.
I think you're talking about 𝗂𝗵𝗄𝗃.
Could be, yes. I never remember that name, I apologize, and after 20 years I should. But it's just literally a magical feeling you get when you see that. And we had a picnic there. And my guide from my hotel, because as you know, you have to have a driver and a guide. My guide started telling me stories about the Divine Madman, and it was so funny. I mean, respectful, but funny. And the way he told his stories was just nice to listen to. It wasn't like finger waving and correct. It was much more joyful and funny and enjoyable. It was more a human being than who was very divine, as opposed to some sort of aesthetic who didn't really want to have a conversation with anyone. I enjoyed his storytelling. He really influenced me, this guide. He's no longer with me. He's passed away. But he really inspired me to look at the beauty of Bhutan with humor and enjoyment.
Which year was that?
2005, because the tsunami was 2004. That's where the tragedy happened, nearly tragedy happened. In 2005, a year later, I was here.
So at what point did you decide to start writing this book, or was it planned all along to write?
Never planned. I'm even surprised it's there, because I just wanted to enjoy going on holiday in Bhutan and listening to all these stories and seeing these all amazing locations. But not only locations with wonderful architecture, buildings like the Zoms and the Lakans, but also just the nature. It's quite spectacular. So I just kept on looking, taking in stories, and every now and then you'd stop for a tea or a lunch. And I like talking to people, so you turn around to the people next to you, the Bhutanese, and say, "Do you live here?" And before you know it, you're having a conversation about their grandparents and the weather, the food, the amount of foreigners who they're talking to. what it was like in the old days when the roads weren't all built. So you hear all these stories, and it's all going in my mind. And even then I didn't know I'd write a book. It's only when I sort of semi-retired from my business, which I'm originally a designer, a graphic designer. I create identities for company, created. I had to find a new profession or a new outlet. And so these two things slowly came together, collecting these stories and looking for a new outlet. And before I knew it, I started writing.
When was the year that you really started writing the
Just
book?
before COVID, so like 2018, I started. But I didn't start writing this. I started writing and tried to sort of find out what I wanted to write about. And then suddenly I sort of closed my laptop and I did something. I went on holiday to Italy, came back, and I thought, no, I know what I want to write. And I started writing. And it never stopped. It's not something that you stop, start writing. Once I started writing, I wrote it continually. So obviously, somebody, something, was coming through me to tell this story, because how could I know all this? How could I know all the details that you will read in that book? So I believe that I was blessed to be helped to tell the story by the energies within Bhutan.
Your books also weave in elements of fantasy. So would you say that your book was determined by your journey in Bhutan, or is it right to say that it is also some kind of travelogue?
No, it's definitely no travelogue. So anybody who wants to read this who think they're going to have a tips and tricks how to have a holiday in Bhutan, forget it. What this is basically a respectful, in a way it's a sort of love letter to Bhutan from me, because you've given me so much, all these stories and the people who have been friendly and telling me all about the wildest things that happened in their youth. I want to give them something back. So all these stories have been put into the blender, as it were, and I put my version of writing style that I hope that you guys can read and follow. So I want more Bhutanese to feel, oh, this is funny. Oh, that's interesting that this 𝗤𝗟𝗃 has picked up this story. So that's what I really want to do. Foreigners who read it will have a fast track of my 20 years of understanding the Bhutanese a bit better. So they will be able to jump over a lot of the learning I've had to do. And if they take that on board, they can have a better conversation with you. I mean, if you want to converse with the Bhutanese, you have to be a bit persistent, because they're so respectful to outsiders. You get nowhere in a conversation. You have to keep on provoking to get a good conversation going. And once it goes, it's great. I love it.
Moving on, Eugene, let's talk about the first part of the book of the series.
Yeah.
So it is The Quest of the Four Seekers.
Yeah.
And this book is also draws from the Bhutanese context of the four harmonious friends. So what inspired you to come up with this title?
I think you'll find out if you read the book, anybody reads the book, that I'm really fascinated by the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And when you enter the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, you go up the steps, and you come in the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, you see the painting of the four friends, four harmonious friends. Now, it's everywhere, I know. But I think I really, really saw it, if you know what I mean. I really looked at it in detail at the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. And it's just a beautiful story. It's so pure, so simple, and so timeless that it inspired me. So I wanted to bring that part of my love of that painting into my story. So I made my new version of, if I can be humble and do that, of the four harmonious friends, and call them the four seekers. And the four seekers are basically four different animals than the four harmonious friends who go on a journey to look for knowledge. Knowledge to solve a problem. And so these four friends go off to look for the wise man of the mountains, because this person needs to help them understand how to help them communicate with humans, because obviously animals can't communicate with humans with their inner thoughts. Just they can be friendly or not friendly, but no communication. But the wise man in the mountains, they thought, could could help them really communicate details to humans. Why do they need to communicate to humans? Because humans are really messing up the country. Not this country, everywhere. Pollution, building roads everywhere. You have to do it. I know it's progress, and I wouldn't be negative about that. But in the process, the animals are being confronted with shrinking habitat. They're coming across plastic. They eat something that they shouldn't, become ill, or they get something trapped in their leg. So animals are actually really slowly getting more and more damaged and hurt and confronted with our growing mass of habitation. So I wanted them to find a person, and in my book, the Wise Man of the Mountains, I'll get to that in a second, was the person they were looking for to help them communicate with humans. That's the journey, the quest.
You're talking about these 4 friends who go on a quest, and we're also talking about this fast-paced world where everything is changing. You're also bringing in the element of climate change. So when you say all that, do you also see yourself in one of these 4 characters?
Well, there's a raven, there's a takin, there's a snow leopard, and there is a golden lagur. The raven is very noble and has a leadership quality. The takin is very loyal and stoic. The snow leopard is a bit crafty, but very wise, and doesn't like any nonsense. It very purposefully goes on its journey. And the golden lagur is just a fun character, always laughing, always having a joke. So hopefully I have a bit of all 4. So I don't identify with one or the other, but I think all 4 of them in different ways, in different moments of the week and day.
It's like bits of yourselves in all these 4 characters.
Yes, yeah. But I didn't write it like that. But any psychologist, like you're trying to do now, will actually quite rightly ask that question. So in a way, you're right. A bit of all.
Moving on to the second book of the series. As the title suggests, Plastic, the New Demon. We know that the problem is everywhere. So if you could also tell us how or what inspired you to come up with this one?
I think this is the nicest story because when in 2018, I went to the 𝗥𝗲𝗽𝗍 primary school here further in 𝗃𝗵. And I spoke to the headmistress at the time, the principal, sorry, at the time. And she got together one class. I think they were only 9, 10, maybe 11, I don't know. And they were so eloquent together. They really could explain things. So I sat down and talked to them. And I asked them about Bhutan and what makes Bhutan special, and help me as a foreigner understand your culture. They all were telling me different things. Then I thought, okay, they're very loose, not like older people, because we all get caged in our own personalities. They were very free and open and fun to talk to. I said, okay, stop, guys. What are the things in Bhutan that you think are the best? And they gave me their lists and everybody was talking. Then I said, what are the things makes you sad? And 2 things came up. They said, what makes us sad is to see forest fires. One girl was telling me, when she sees a forest fire, something in her heart literally burns. Her soul gets hurt. She said it was such passion. It was really emotional. Then one of the boys got up and said, sir, I really don't like all the plastic bottles in the drains in the cities. It makes me really sad. And Bhutan shouldn't have this. So I thought, okay, right, what we do now, people who want to talk with this guy about plastic bottles go in that corner. And if anybody wants to talk about forest fires, go in that corner. And anyone who doesn't want to do anything can leave the room. Running. 2 teams.
So it became an activity.
It became an activity. And I said, okay, I'll tell you what we do. Let's make 3 bullet points about what you would like to tell older people in authority to make forest fires better, less, then find a slogan, and then make a logo. That's what our job is today. And you do the same, plastic team. And they did that. It was amazing. They were so grown up. And they made their 3 points, they made their slogan, and they made their logo. One of the slogans was plastic, the new demon. Now, if you just pause for a minute and think about the power of that statement, you've got the old ways of talking about demons, and you've got the modern evil of pollution, plastic. And this guy brought them together. He's a boy. And I thought, I was dumbstruck when he said that. It's magic. How you bring the old Bhutan to the new world and its problems and its challenges. So I thought, that's going to be my story at that moment. But they helped me. I want to find those kids. I'm looking for them at the moment. So if anybody can tell me where they are, I would love to talk to them again and offer them a book.
It would be nice if someone listening to us could pass this message, or maybe the student might have grown up by now. So
I think the students now in middle school, I think you call it. So you have primary school and the school afterwards. And we're looking for them now. But it's not just that one boy, it's the whole team. He also said to me, I asked him, what do you want to do when you finish school? Oh, I know exactly what I want to do, he said, very confident. I want to be an astronaut. I said, astronaut? Bhutan has no space program. And he said, yes, we do. We have sent a nanosatellite into space. You have to start small, and then you get bigger. And I want to be one of the first astronauts for Bhutan. He's 10. Fantastic.
So in a nutshell, the story was born from a classroom.
Yes, absolutely. And that classroom I totally respect and admire, and I owe them a lot. Not financially, but emotionally.
And how the story was born.
Yeah.
Moving on to the third book. The secret is in the Northeast.
Yes.
So personally, you have been traveling a lot, coming to Bhutan over 40 times, and you also said that you have been in the East as well. So was this inspired by your journey in the East?
I think for me, say, coming to Bhutan for the first 20 times, I went as far as Bumtang. Well, I went to Gasa, I went to Bumtang, but I never went to the East, real East. So I never really went to Mongar and 𝗏𝗏. I didn't go there. So this was all in my mind as a magical place I'd never seen. And because you go further up north, you get the mountains, they come closer to you, and it's much more rugged and magical and mystical. And I was in my mind, it became a bigger and bigger scenery for me to play my story in. It's because I didn't really know it very well. When you go to Bumtang, it's quite flat, and the mountains in the distance has a different energy. You come to Thimphu, there's all the dynamic of the city, has a different energy. Paro is my entry port into Bhutan through the airport, so it has a different relevance for me. But the East is untouched with myself, only in my mind. So it became bigger and bigger and bigger as a fantastical place. And that's why I wanted to end the book. So I started doing some research about how it works and reading stuff, talking to people. And then something came up about Singhizong. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. That sounds really, really special. So that pulled the story through 𝗏𝗏, the Kurichu, right up to Singhizong. And Singhizong is a little bit on the 𝗏𝗏𝗄, but it's all that area. Stunning. So I never went there, but in my mind it was stunning. So I looked at it on Google Earth 3D, so I could see how fantastic it was. But I thought, I have to go there. But I only went there after I wrote the book. And when I went there, I thought, oh, I better check all my facts are okay. Like, you could say you're driving up the Kurichu and the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is on the right-hand side, but it's really on the left-hand side. I want to get this all right. But it's all right, all correct, because I looked at it on Google Earth. But feeling the energy there and going to Singhizong, I never went to Singhizong because we can't go, but I went as far as a Koma village,
So that was after you were done writing the book?
Yes, this was last year I went, so I finished the book before, but I had to get it published, printed. I went to check everything out, and it was all good. I was really happy. But it is an amazing place. I can tell you now because I've been.
And these books are the sole testimony of how much you love Bhutan and how much you know about Bhutan and how much you have seen Bhutan through your eyes. But deep down, personally, how has Bhutan really changed you?
When you get older, like me, I'm 73, you realize that time's running out. So if you have any gifts or any abilities, you have to think about what you want to do with them. And I think young Bhutan, and most of you that I meet are younger than me, are forgetting some of the really crucial elements that make you special. And your culture is based on an oral tradition of telling stories, and it's transitioning into a written form. You're going through that transition now. The difference is quite important. I mean, my culture has done this a long time ago, and it's not that it's good or it's bad, it's just a journey you go through. But the oral tradition keeps people together because you're listening to each other. You have to, otherwise you haven't really, why talk if no one's listening? So the gathering of people together and telling stories has a social function. It's a glue, it's a community building activity. When you read a book, you can sit in a corner and just read on your own. It's a difficult physical thing. And so I wanted to, in my funny way, capture oral storytelling in a written form before the oral tradition disappears. So I'm really hoping that I can help building a library of oral stories by some of the older folk and putting that into the library for prosperity.
Is that a plan, or that's
I'd
already
love
in
to.
place?
I've got to think about how to do it, but it'll be another job, and I don't know whether I have the time to do it, but I'd love to stimulate people to do it, because it's you only have a window left, small window left, to capture those stories. Those people are old and they will disappear. And like all old traditions, if you don't see them quick enough, they will go. And you don't want that to go. So if you can sit back one Sunday afternoon and it's raining outside, you can turn on your radio or your internet, and you can go through the archive of stories about the Puna Kazong or some Lakan somewhere, and you listen to it, you think, God, that's an amazing story. But it may have been told 10 years earlier. And if you didn't record it, you've lost it, gone. And so any restoration of some very sacred buildings, it's not just about the architecture, it's about the energies that room or the shrine rooms have experienced. And if you take that apart, you're destroying layers and layers of sacredness and atmospherics. I really believe that. So it's good to hear these stories, and you get more responsible with some of the ancient locations you have. We in the West, in Holland anyway, we became more aware of this to protect what we have somewhere in the sort of 90s. But before that, modernization was just changing everything. Then there was a sort of feeling we're losing something, and we went back and protected it. It goes in waves, huh?
When you were writing these books, who did you have in your mind? Was it for Bhutanese readers or someone who have never been to Bhutan?
I still struggle with who my audience is. I have no idea. And yesterday, when I started selling the book, I started to talk to older people, younger people, and I'm really happy that there doesn't seem to be an age group. I've written the start of the story in quite a young way. And some people have said it sounds like a children's story. What does that mean? A children's story is just a magical way of entering a world. But as you go through the books, it gets a little bit more complicated. Not darker, but more complicated and more meaningful. But you have to start off by pulling people in and think, oh, it's an easy read. And then then it gets more and more layered. So I'm not sure how many younger children can take the whole journey. I hope they can. But they always surprise me, the young ones, like these kids in the school. So I think they're not the problem. It's the older ones who will think the first few pages it's a bit of a children's story, and then they stop. They'll miss a great story. So I hope they will hang on in there. But the most important thing I want to do is, yes, I'd love foreigners to like it as well. But the only reason I want them to like it is I want them to understand your culture a bit better. Because you don't tell your story good enough to outsiders. Because you're too respectful of their culture. Your culture is as important as their culture. But you always started off by saying, you hear this so much in Bhutan, yeah, but we're not so far as you in Holland or in Germany or in America. You are. You're actually much further.
Does that mean people who have never been to Bhutan has also something to take away from these books?
Absolutely. Yeah, hopefully, someone will say, I've come to Bhutan because I read this book called The Tale of 𝗂𝗶𝗵𝗂. It sounded amazing. If someone says that, mission accomplished. If a Bhutanese says, I really enjoyed that, that's a new perspective of my culture, equally and more important. So I can get those two things to happen, I feel it's been worthwhile. I don't know the age. I know the mentality. It has to be young at heart. If you're young at heart, you can read that. If you're a factual, legal-minded person who basically only believes in the rights and wrongs of a conversation, don't even start. But if you believe in things and you want to see a more fantastical picture of your own culture and colour it in from another, palette, me, yeah, you'll enjoy it.
Someone who wants to go on your journey through your lens.
Yeah. Because it's any parable, any fable has got a message in it. You have to work out if that message resonates or not.
Finally, Eugene, 3 books, one book, but 3 series, and countless visits to Bhutan over past 2 decades. What really keeps you bringing back to Bhutan?
My storytelling isn't finished. So I'm now collecting stories for a next book. I picked up 3 stories yesterday. Can you imagine? At Bhutan Echoes. Somebody said something, somebody else said something, and I loaded that in my mind, and I'm going to do my own research on it. And it may be another avenue which I'll explore in my storytelling. So I want to be a storyteller. That's it. I've always wanted to do that. And you guys have given me the setting to have a go, have a try.
Thank you so much, Eugene. It was great to have you and listening to you through all those minor details about Bhutan and how you really see Bhutan through your lens. Anything that you would like to say to your readers or maybe future readers?
Take the time to get into the first story, and you should have a laugh, enjoy it, cry, hopefully, and see things in a fresher way. I mean, if you, as Bhutanese, came and lived in Holland, you will see the Dutch through your lens, and you'll have observations which I can never think of, because I'm not Bhutanese. Me, as a foreigner coming to live in Bhutan, I have a way of seeing things because of who I am, and I'm not Bhutanese. And I can tell you that in a respectful way. And you'll think, oh, I've never thought of it like that. And even though you live here, you're too close to the subject, and I'm further away. So I can see at a distance. And you could if you came to my country. So please see it in that way. Respectful thank you to Bhutan.
That was wonderful. Thank you, Eugene.
Pleasure.